Welcome to all Neet aspirants. Very good morning. Today the swift revision of plant physiology part, the first part, transport in plants. Keep the NCERT text with you. Here to the topic, familiarize with content and concept of the text. At end, feel easiness to face whatever the form of MCQ in Neet. Means of transport. The first heading it is the diffusion. Diffusion it is entropy driven process that is based on concentration gradient. And diffusion it is a slow process. It do not depend upon the living system, do not require any metabolic energy. Diffusion is across the cell, crossing membrane and intercellular space toward its atmosphere. And initial movement it is random, followed by the net movement. That means movement of molecule from high concentration to low concentration. So it is the driving force for the diffusion it is concentration differences. Diffusion it is obvious in liquids and gases. Diffusion is more rapid in gases. If you rearrange in increasing order of the diffusion, solids, liquids, gases, that is diffusion is rapid in case of what it is gases. Diffusion in solid rather than of solid is most likely. That means from one solid you do expect diffusion. Between two solids you do not expect what it is the diffusion. And diffusion it is very, very important to the plant because it is only the means of the transport in plants. And if you go for examples for the diffusion, entry of the carbon dioxide from atmosphere to the plant for photosynthesis, it is diffusion. Loss of water as a vapor from aerial parts of the plant body, it is diffusion. Aroma of the flowers, it is nothing but what it is diffusion. And diffusion rates which are affected by temperature, pressure, density, size, distance, solubility of the substance in lipids. Diffusion is directly proportional to temperature, permeability of the membrane, concentration differences as well as the pressure. Indirectly, diffusion is indirectly proportional to size, distance and density. As size increases, rate of diffusion decreases. Distance increases, rate of diffusion decreases. If the substances which are soluble in case of the lipid or the plasma membrane, it moves very faster. And if the molecules which are small, uncharged, hydrophobic, lipophilic, soluble in lipids, move very faster through the what it is membrane. What about other molecules which are charged, large molecule, hydrophilic, lipophobic? It also moves not by simple diffusion, it is by means of a carrier. What is the nature of the carrier? It is an organic substance, it is nothing but the protein. So the carrier protein facilitates the diffusion. What do you call it is facilitated diffusion. So in facilitated diffusion, the carrier do not set up any concentration gradient. Concentration gradient must possessed by the molecules only. It only facilitates the process. And transport rate reaches to the maximum when all transporters are saturated. And it is sensitive to inhibitors like enzyme because side chain or group is going to be affected. and do not cause net transport of the substance from low to high concentration, because from low to high concentration require what it is metabolic energy, that is ATP. So it is down the gradient, high concentration to it is low concentration, facilitated diffusion. And these carriers, what do you call it, channels, which may be open or controlled, what do you call it, is gated, even it is large. And these carrier protein channels, which are ion channels, porins and aquaporins, because the carrier protein shows specificity like that of what it is enzymes. Once it collects the molecule, it releases this what it is inside, and the ion channels meant for what it is transport of ions. The porins are carrier protein having huge pores present in outer membrane of plastids, mitochondria, and in some bacteria plasma membrane, which allows small sized proteins to pass through. And with regard to this aquaporins, which is responsible for bulk movement of water, water moves by simple diffusion, that is osmosis, and bulk movement of water through aquaporins. They are made up of 8 different kinds of what it is protein responsible for bulk movement of water. So the facilitated diffusion, the carriers which are involved, nothing but for it is the protein. And with regard to Symport and what it is Antiport, the carrier protein, the transport molecules in one direction, it is uniport. The uniport followed by co-transport. Substances or molecules move at a time, 2 substances, 2 molecules at a time, what do you call co-transport. 2 substances move in the same direction, what do you call it is symport. 2 substances move in opposite direction, what do you call it is antiport. So uniport followed by co-transport. The co-transport involves symport and antiport. 1 ion, 1 direction, uniport. 2 ions at a time, co-transport. Co-transport in same direction, symport. Co-transport in opposite direction, antiport. And with regard to this heading, active transport. In active transport also carriers which are involved, like that of facilitated diffusion. But in case of active transport, the carriers, what do you call it is pumps. Why carriers which are called pumps in case of active transport? Because it is from low concentration to high concentration. It is transport, it is uphill transport. In case of facilitated, that is downhill transport. And it requires metabolic energy, that is ATP. And this active transport, it is affected by inhibitors. Inhibitors is going to affect what it is the protein, the R group, that is side chain. And metabolic inhibitors having inhibiting effect, because metabolic energy, that is ATP, whenever it is not available, there is no active transport. So general inhibitors, metabolic inhibitors is going to inhibit active transport. Common thing for facilitated and active transport, which are carrier proteins. In facilitated diffusion, the inhibitors is going to inhibit in this inhibitor as well as metabolic inhibitor. And these carrier proteins, the protein, it is organic substance. Again the carrier protein is under the control of another organic substance, it is hormones. And with regard to comparison of different that is transport process, that is diffusion, facilitated diffusion and active transport. Down the gradient, diffusion, facilitated diffusion. Up the gradient, uphill transport, it is active transport. Carriers are required for, not for diffusion, for facilitated and active transport. Transport rate reaches to the maximum in case of facilitated as well as for it is active transport. Inhibitors inhibit the process facilitated and active but not diffusion. Metabolic inhibitors inhibit the transport in case of active but not in facilitated and diffusion. Downhill transport, diffusion and facilitated diffusion. Uphill transport, active transport. And against concentration, that is active transport. A linear relationship with the time, not diffusion, not facilitated, it is active. Whenever metabolic energy is available, at that time only the active transport occurs. That is the comparison of different transport process.